Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. There's a new convention in town, and it's sure to be mega fun without the mega expense. Comics, toys, collectibles, pop culture. ShadowCon, Saturday, February 1st, 2025 in Orlando, Florida. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Ta-da! Ta-da! And we're here. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We are live, at least I'm live, from WonderCon at the Anaheim Convention Center. Roland Mann is not here. Roland Mann is engaged in personal March Madness and will not be joining us tonight. So I'm subbing in with my friends. Starting to my left, I believe, is Mr. Mike Belcher, the Man in the Mask guy. Hey, Mike.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. How is everybody this nice Sunday evening?
And I'm also joined by my downstairs neighbor, Mr. Thomas Flormonte. Hey, Tommy.
What's going on, everybody? Glad to be here.
These are Ropers. He's downstairs.
It is like the Ropers.
That's right. Yeah. I'm the Ropers.
Wait, so did Jack live upstairs and the Ropers live downstairs?
Yeah,
Was that
they had to go up. And eventually Mr. Feeney, too, so they had to go up. So.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad you're here, Mike.
Useless information, number 5001.
So I don't know of anything that Silverline is shipping this week. So I'm going to
I can give you a little bit. I'm not sure if it's going out, but they do have all of the last Kickstarter, which was the, what was it? I just sent it all to them. Yeah, there you go. Wolf Hunter 2.
There we go.
And then the what is it? It's not Beyond the Stars. The latest Diamond order. He's got all that stuff, so that should be going out.
No.
Awesome. Because it's funny. I proofread issue number 2 of Wolf Hunter like 2 weeks ago, and now it's already out and being shipped to people. So that is super fast. Yeah, and I can tell you that we have a new crowdfunder up at Fund My Comic. It's Cat and Mouse Vipers #1, written by Roland, and I cannot tell you who the art is because I have it written down somewhere and I don't have it in front of me.
Angelo Concepcion.
That's it.
And inks by Jose Fuentes.
There we go.
And our own Roberta Conroy on the covers.
There we go.
Yep.
The plug is in, and so that is. Go to Fund My Comic and you can find it out. Give a pledge. We are 98% complete as of today.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we need another couple of grand, another $1,000 worth of stuff. Yeah.
Listen, we can always use more.
Don't stop at just once it gets funded. We need to go a little further.
Yeah, don't wipe your brow like whew, and then
made it sure and just stop. No. Besides, it's still got like 20 days, I think, worth of
at this rate, it'll be huge. If we can keep the plan going. All right, so I don't think we have anything else going on. Anybody else have any news?
How are things at WonderCon? Was it good crowd?
Oh, that's right.
So WonderCon is always weird. It feels like the stepson of San Diego Comic-Con. And because it's shorter days, it's a smaller crowd. And Friday and Sunday are always slow, and then Saturday is always packed. And that was true this year. But I was talking to some convention people that said attendance was up over last year, which is good, I think, for the business. And I talked to, and again, this is like a really random sample. I talked to 6 different people who were set up, 2 comic book people, 2 toy people, and 2 creators. And they all said that things were better this year than last year. And so I think, I mean, if you look at the business in a snapshot, and this is all anecdotal, I think, but it's better that they're moving in a positive direction than to hear negative stuff.
Definitely.
And there were some panels that drew really, really big crowds. I was at the Nicholas Meyer panel. He's the guy who wrote and directed Wrath of Khan and wrote 7% Solution and Time After Time and a bunch of other stuff. And he had a new Sherlock Holmes novel coming out. It's out now, and he's got another one coming out in the fall. And his room was packed, 175 people. Cool. And the books that his publisher sent out to be signed sold out on Friday. So
he's sitting around Saturday going, go online, order my book.
Run over to Barnes & Noble. And so I think that was, I think those are all sort of positive things if people are selling out of stuff and under anticipating demand. And
so you were just walking around. You didn't actually have a space to sit, right?
Just walking around, and I saw, and WonderCon has basically everything. There's almost no movie presence, and there's almost no publisher presence, except for the handful of indie publishers and really tiny micro publishers. But I ran into Randy Ronaldo. He had a great Saturday. He was doing well. And the Funko Pop people were there. Always a huge crowd. And they put them, they Funko Pop is always, it's always like milk in the grocery store, because you need to go to the grocery store and get milk, but they make you walk all the way to the back so that you pass all. And so the Funko Pop booth is all the way in the back. So you got to pop through all the other
everything
before you get to the Funko Pop. And I think that's really smart because it makes people look at other stuff.
It surprises me that those little figures are still selling as well as they are, because they've been around. Usually that kind of stuff, comes and goes and stuff.
Right, it's got a cycle.
I still buy some some Star Wars thing will come up that I think is kind of cool, or a new Spider-Man one. I've got way too many of them. I need to sell some.
I saw a couple, an obviously married couple, and they had 4 giant convention-sized bags full of Funko Pops. It's like they'd saved up their money since the last time they were here, and they were
got to get that exclusive one from the show.
Yeah. And I think what WonderCon does really well is they manage the cosplayers really well. There's an entire area out front near the water fountain that has the stairs that serve as a riser for everybody to take group shots. And it's the floor. They're cosplayers on the floor, but you don't see the giant, costumed people
that are
I
just
think,
standing in the
right,
way a
they're
lot of
just
time.
blocking the aisle. I saw one guy with Dr. Octopus arms.
Oh.
And he was
pictures.
And he was sort of, whacking into people. And but that was the only, that was the only thing I saw. All right, so we got some people calling in. Woody M says, "Yo, folks." Nick of Time says, "Hello, hey, you guys. Geek Mad Masters of the Thunder Nerds is here. Howdy, y'all.
Welcome on.
So great to have you guys here. We're gonna make you mad. So the topic for today's show is favorite comic book movies. So not necessarily best, because what does best mean? But favorite stuff that we loved when we first saw it, or that grew on us, and stuff that it's like comfort food for us. It's like a bowl of peanuts or a pile of Oreo cookies or whatever. A movie that we return to again and again that's based on comics. And I have a list of 10 that I brought with me, but we're not going to start with me. We're going to start with Mike. What do you got?
Well, I've got the same 10 list, and as always, and it is unchanged in my lifetime so far, Superman the movie.
All right.
Number one has never been unseated.
Now, why?
It is, well, in addition to being a very vivid childhood memory,
right?
It made me a Superman fan. It made me a superhero fan, and it made me a Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman fan. It was just absolutely. And again, I watch it 2 or 3 times a year. It is absolutely, despite the Donner, and little flourishes and changes here and there.
Right.
It's got the vibe. It really, for 1978, it encapsulates Superman. And like I said, it just, no superhero movie is going to be perfect.
Right.
And they're going to change this, they're going to change that, but if they can get the vibe down for me, if they can get down what the spirit of the comic is, I can be a lot more forgiving on a lot of the little details, that going this way and going that way. But Superman, it is that movie when I'm down or if I just want to have a good time. Like I said, it's been my number one. It's hard to beat.
The thing that I go to with Superman the movie is always Christopher Reeve's performance. But also the sequence of Superman's first night.
Yeah.
One where he basically runs through Metropolis doing big things and little things. And that to me is what you were saying. It's the Superman vibe of it, where it's just like, okay, this is my Superman. This is what his normal night would be if he wasn't trying to stop Gene Hackman from blowing up California.
Yeah, I mean, and really when I'm short for time, sometimes I'll just pop the Blu-ray in and I'll just watch that sequence.
Yeah,
I mean that whole right there first night, even to the cat in the tree and rescuing Air Force One. How can you not feel good? I mean, it encapsulates the innocent nature, the good nature of Superman, and the best of what we can be.
I think, and when the pilot looks out the window and sees Superman holding up the wing of the airplane, and he just turns to his co-pilot and says,
"Just fly,
just fly. No one to ask questions. Just fly." Now, that's it. You can. I don't know if anybody else does, but I feel a lump in my throat where it's like, okay, this is because if there's any time it's so ingrained in my head, and I'm so stupid that every time I'm on a flight and there's turbulence, I look out to the wing, and I think, and I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for the William Shatner gremlin.
Yeah, of course.
Or,
first. Yeah.
Or I'm looking for Superman to be holding up the wing. Either one, and I would die a happy man.
It's kind of that movie was like the beginning. I don't know the beginning because there was plenty of superhero movies before that, but that was like they actually did a really good job with a superhero movie. Yeah.
Well, I think it was really the first time that I think special effects were starting to catch up to superhero concepts.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that somebody was behind there holding his cape going, woo! Right. But it was pretty good, though. It was still really good.
And then the casting unknown, that exactly is what was needed. He was Superman. I mean, just think about that part. where after he flies Lois Lane around, he comes back as Clark, and he's got that scene where he's fighting about telling her, and that transformation, taking his glasses off and just raising his chest, is better than any CGI will ever be. I mean, you will never touch that ever.
No, that is amazing. And it also, the thing about Superman, the first one, is that it really pisses me off because the other movies don't hold up as well. It's like
they're a little campy.
Yeah, well, they're a little campy, and
silly.
They get it wrong. Like 3 and 4 get everything wrong about Superman that could possibly be, and which is irritating because number 1 gets 1978 Superman as well as anybody could get it. I can't think of another actor or another director who could come in, or another writer who could come in and make that movie better at that time.
What did you think about the Donner cut of 2 that came out early 2000s?
I haven't seen it. I was afraid to, because I thought it would ruin my appreciation of 1.
It doesn't. And actually, I think the only thing I got out of it was regret that that version didn't get finished, because it was 3/4 finished.
Right.
And there's a couple of scenes that they use like rehearsal footage, because that's all they had to try to kind of get the scene across, because he never got to shoot that, because Donner shot 1 and 2 together.
Yes,
they were situational, and then he got fired before he could finish 2, and then so when I guess it was a con thing for a while that somebody cobbled together some of his footage, and they were passing along, and then finally in 2005, before Superman Returns came out, they actually gave someone the permission to, and Donner didn't quite oversee it, but he gave suggestions.
Right.
And I think it's a watch, not because it demerits 1, but it makes you feel like, oh my gosh, what could have been.
Right.
Because all the parts in the, I can't remember who took over the directing.
Richard Lester.
Okay. Richard Lester. He put so many comedic parts in it that I think dampened it. And then when you watch the Donner cut, there are some scenes that aren't even remotely in it that are, it's dramatic. It's serious. These are 3 dangerous criminals, and some of the hackney lines that were in 2, the theatrical cut, really aren't in there, and there's a lot more danger to it. There's a lot more ferocity to it. And,
I think because the number 2 is definitely more comedic and has more visual humor, which sort of detracts from, like, you don't really need that in that movie. And I also think that I forget why Donner was fired, but I think it was just for stupid movie reasons. I don't think it was for a quality thing or a budget thing or whatever. I think it's clash of director and producers.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because Donner has made some of the better action movies around. I think the Lethal Weapon franchise is his.
Yeah.
And so if he had the grittiness, if you could feel the danger from the Galaxy Trio, for lack of a better word, if you could feel the danger from them with the same way you felt the danger from the villains in Lethal Weapon, it would have been a much stronger movie.
Yeah, I mean, it like I said, you watch it and you think, well, I mean, I watched Superman 1, 2, 3 in the movies. I mean, so I saw the original version of Superman 2, so for a lot of years that was in my head, and so watching the Donner cut, the first 5 minutes of the Donner cut blows away probably a good portion of the Lester version.
Wow.
Just because it makes sense.
Right.
Because he that whole Eiffel Tower scene isn't even in the movie. It actually, the villains, I mean, this is the first 10 minutes, so this isn't a spoiler to anybody who hasn't seen it. It's the first 10 minutes, the villains escaping are tied to the one missile Superman did get up into space. And so it makes a whole lot more sense, because Superman kind of releases them inadvertently. So, I mean, it ties to the first movie a lot better than, because a lot of the second movie doesn't feel like it ties very well to the first movie at all.
And also that's a classic comic book structure anyway, where the hero is responsible for unleashing the villain.
Yeah. So, I mean, I said it just what could have been. Does it replace anything? I don't think it does. but it's one of those things where you say, what could have been?
Right. All right, Tommy, what do you got?
Well, of course, I guess I don't know why. This is going to be kind of odd. Just a weird pick. When I first started doing comics and stuff, my wife was going with me to the shows, and she fell in love with the Crow books. So that first Crow movie, for some reason, has really stuck in my head. It's something that I always remembered liking. I've seen it since, and I'm like, this really wasn't that great, but it still is a movie that I always had liked. And of course, all of the we're all going to mention the Batman movies and stuff. I really like that first
Right.
Batman movie of the new Batmans and stuff. But the older Batmans that were more the movie Batman or the TV movies, I don't know if any of those were ever shown. The Adam West, when he was doing those long episodes. You remember the movies that were like an hour and a half TV episode
Where they would cut episodes together?
Yeah, those that kind of was always for me. But the first couple of Turtle movies, from back in the when was
Right.
that 70s, 80s or whatever, really
Yeah.
love those movies. Those always stuck in my head as something cool. They don't look as good now. They're kind of silly, but it's still, I was younger. I was just
Right.
into breaking into comics, starting to make money doing comics,
And
love comics.
and you were dating a woman who loved the movies.
And she loved, there you go. All of those earlier superhero movies or comic book movies, not necessarily superhero movies. They were really some of the big things for me.
The thing I liked about The Crow and the thing I liked about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is it made it possible that comic book movies didn't have to originate from Marvel or DC, that you could have comic book movies based on things that just a couple of dudes created, in their house. And so that it sort of gave me hope that things could happen outside the normal system and the normal channels. And so I really like the way that they got set up and that they got made, because up until then, I can't think of many independent comic book movies that were doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing in the 80s I can remember is that Spirit movie with Sam J. Jones that was, went straight to TV.
Right. Dave Ace Gutierrez chimes in with same with Rocketeer. That's right. Because Rocketeer had that Superman technology of, trying to make a man fly with fire on his back. And because Rocketeer is also on my list as one of my favorite movies too, because I will never understand why that's not part of the conversation as much as it should be, because, and I also don't understand why it didn't do well, other than it's Disney and Disney has Disney rules.
Well, I think at the time they were just like, "Hey, have a great family time." It's a great time for the family, and it wasn't it didn't push the comic book aspect. It didn't push the action. It was a summer movie. It should have done great, and it would have, could have, should have. But no, it's 3 on my list. I mean, I love it to death.
I think it's as big an important time period superhero movie or comic book movie as Indiana Jones is. It has that same, it captures the period vibe. It captures the way people talk. It has a great dynamic between the characters, has a good villain, and has all the flying stuff. And I think, and the flying stuff isn't necessary. I mean, it's important, but it's not what the movie is about. And I think that's somehow that all got lost. And the movie just
it was just a magical movie. And Paul Sorvino, line of the movie, "I may not make an honest living, but I'm 100% American."
Right. That's right.
So,
the other cool thing about the other cool thing about the first Superman movie was, like, being that it was so, it had its wonkiness, but it was like, they're finally we're finally getting a movie that's something that we like, kind of a thing, us nerds kind of thing. We liked all the Star Wars stuff. There was plenty of other stuff to watch and everything, but they're actually, we all reading these silly comic books, and they actually made a really big budget movie that was, really looked like a guy was flying around and
Well,
spinning the earth backwards and doing superhero stuff. And like, oh, they actually made a movie that was pretty close to Superman. That was pretty cool.
right. Well, because the thing about the special effects of the time, I mean, I grew up watching like the Spider-Man live action TV show where it's like,
Yeah.
they don't really do much of the Spider-Man stuff because the technology doesn't exist to make it budget friendly, and it would look terrible anyway. So they don't put him in the suit as often as you want him to be, and you're waiting like, where's my Ditko Ramita Spider-Man? And you're just watching some actor basically in a paper suit.
Yeah, when you do see him, you're like, that just doesn't look good. That just
no,
doesn't
and he's
look
not.
good.
He's not doing the thwips with the web that I want to see, and he's not swinging like I want to see. It's like, no. But Superman was the one where it's like, okay, I got to see all of Superman's powers.
Yeah,
I got to see Superman be Superman as opposed to an actor pretending to be Superman.
And for those the special effects they could do at the time, Superman was probably a good one to pick to do. I mean, make a guy fly, just put a green screen behind him with a guy holding a skate going woo woo, and you can make him fly. How can he see through stuff? Just make him go, and then he can see through stuff.
Because he doesn't have difficult powers to reproduce on screen.
No, I mean, when he punches
mostly it's the
people
flying
really
stuff.
hard. Yeah, when he punches people hard, he just kind of throws a punch. We've seen those kind of movies forever. Yeah,
when they shoot him with the fake guns, or when he bends the end of a rifle or whatever, that's totally doable.
Yeah, we're just calling it a superhero movie. So he was a really good character to actually make a big budget superhero movie.
All right, so I'm gonna not duplicate the ones that are on your guys' lists, but I'm gonna say Hellboy. Because for two things. One is that it's another thing of an independent comic, this time from Dark Horse, and I like to see anything from non-Marvel, non-DC that's creator owned and creator controlled sort of move forward and be part of the system. I love that. I love that Mike Mignola had created an entire world basically on his own out of myth and legend, and I loved Ron Perlman's portrayal of Hellboy. I love the backstory that was set up with Nazi technology and evil villains, and the kind of Indiana Jones backstory of fighting the fascist evil. And I loved the look. I love the look of the movie. I love the secondary characters, and I really love the look of Hellboy, which could have looked completely silly had it been done in the 70s or late 60s. And I think the makeup and the technology,
all the prosthetic stuff that they did, looked really good.
Yeah. And it also has heart. So even though he's a cigar smoking, gun shooting, face punching, monster type of person, he has real heart.
Yeah.
And his heart sort of warmed through the course of the movie. And so for that, I give it props. And it's also the first time I ever saw anything by Guillermo del Toro. And I thought, I'm going to watch his stuff. I'm going to look out for his movies from now on.
Yeah, just say this guy's making some cool stuff.
Right, because he's doing stuff that I'm not seeing in other movies. He's not just copying something; he's making stuff up. And so, his later work proves that out. It's like he read and watched all the same things I did, and this is what he spits out. So I'm in.
Yeah, I saw Blade 2. I thought I didn't enjoy the first Blade, but I liked the second one.
Oh.
And Del Toro directing it, I think, had a lot to do with that. And then going into Hellboy, it was, I'm with you. I think that the Hellboy is it's a great movie. I think anybody can watch it because at the end of the day, he's really one of the more human characters in the movie. I mean, he's just this big kid, and it's a way of relating to the casual fan that this, that's the way he is in the comic too. It's just very blue collar, very, well, it's like, he's the world's greatest paranormal, investigator. His thing is he punches, creatures. There's not much more than that. I mean, but he's relatable. I mean, it's a fun thing.
And that's the thing. I love his arrogance. I love his confidence. I love the way he doesn't react to the bigger monster villain the way you expect him to. He's more like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Like I got to weigh in, and he leaps into it, and I think there's a great scene where he's fighting the Cthulhu like thing, and he's swinging that massive sword, and he's just chopping the octopus limbs off that thing left and right. It's well choreographed. It's beautifully staged. The special effects are really wonderful, but it's also fun.
And him being a smart ass all the way through it's just funny.
Yeah.
Funny.
It's good. But there's still real danger. So it's not like he's being a smart ass and it's funny. It's like he's being a smart ass because that's his personality.
Yeah.
But there's still a threat. And
I didn't really read a lot of the Hellboy comic books, but Barry Gregory, my business partner, he was a monster Hellboy fan, and when Barry saw it for the first time, he was like, Thomas, you need to go see this movie because it's close. It's really close to what the Hellboy's. It feels like Hellboy. That's what Barry and I always talk about when we watch a superhero or a comic book. It's like, is it close? And usually it's not, but sometimes they get it pretty good, pretty close.
Well, I think, and this goes back to something Mike said too. When I want it to be close, it's not that the details have to be 100% correct, or that the story has to follow canon or continuities, whatever. Are they going to give me the feels that I have when I read the comic? Are they going to be? Is it going to be as? Am I going to get a Superman vibe? Am I going to get a Hellboy vibe? Am I going to get whatever from the movie? And Hellboy does that, just like Superman 78 does.
Mm.
All right. We got somebody in the comments. Nick of Time says he's got one for independent comic characters, Dread 2012.
Yeah.
Which
I heard that was good. I haven't watched it.
Oh, God, it's really good. I mean, it makes you want to shoot Sylvester Stallone. It's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, other than regularly, I mean.
Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah, if you wake up and say, listen, I'd like to punch Sylvester Stallone in the face on a given Tuesday, this will make you want to do it more. It is such a good Dread 2012 is so good. It's so well structured. It basically takes place in one set.
Yep, it did.
I mean, they move it around a lot, but it's basically one building in Mega City.
That's the one with Wesley Snipes, right? We're not talking about
no. That's Demolition Man.
Yeah, that's Demolition Man.
Oh yeah. I'm getting my my shows.
Dread 2012 is where he doesn't take off his helmet at all.
Yeah.
So you never see the actor's face. But it's got he's basically running through the different levels
I'm trying to think if I saw it or not.
Of the building. If you haven't seen it yet, it's remarkably
No, I know I have,
done.
but I can't remember. I'm getting it wasn't Stallone with the movie with Wesley Snipes too?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Demolition
was
Man.
Demolition Man.
Yeah,
That was Demolition Man? Okay,
Yeah.
for some reason that was the movie. That's not the movie. That's a different movie.
No, Demolition Man is fun, stupid, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And all right. So, Mike, you got another one?
Sorry.
I may have some controversy. I may not have, but this
All
is
right.
not a Marvel, DC, indie. The Incredibles.
The Incredibles
I absolutely adore
fabulous.
The Incredibles. I mean,
Yes.
it is. It's from a guy that appreciates comics, and Brad Bird. You could tell the love from the first minute to the absolute last. I mean, it's got everything I've ever wanted in a comic book movie. It's got emotion. It's got action. It's just got drama, and it's just good. I mean, there isn't a bad thing about it.
I would agree with that. I also think it's the best Fantastic Four movie ever made.
Yeah,
And I don't think anything can top it. And I think
I'll go one further with you, Tom. I don't think they've made a good Fantastic Four movie. That people are not going to like me for saying that.
No, I don't think they have either. I think they've dropped that ball 4 times.
And they keep picking it back up and airballing it every time.
But I think if you're making a movie about a superhero family, that The Incredibles hits sort of all the right notes and is still a comic book movie or a superhero movie, and it's family friendly, but it's not it's not like the 3 dogs traveling across country or whatever. It's not that kind of family movie. It's because when I saw it with my kids, we watched it maybe a dozen times. It's that kind of family movie, and I mean, because Brad Bird is Brad Bird, we kept seeing things that we missed the previous times, and made connections that we hadn't made before, and it just got deeper and richer. It's great world building, it's great character stuff, it's great animation, it's great storytelling.
Yeah, like I said, there's nothing wrong about it. I mean, it's inventive, and it has very much respect for the medium. And again, it's. I mean, what else are you going to have a superhero going through a midlife crisis that isn't Watchmen? You know, it just shows you can have a situation like that where it's not, a bad result. It's still fun.
Right.
It's still, there's some pathos in there.
We had great supporting characters.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And then you have the Eisner touches with him looking like the Spirit in a couple scenes, and you have such a respect for me. And something I learned from Dan Reba a couple of weeks ago at Lexington Comic Con, Brad Bird tried to get Eisner to do a Spirit cartoon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He in the 80s. He was actually trying to actively pursue Eisner to do a Spirit cartoon. I've seen some stuff online, some of the stuff he was trying to put together for it. It would have been great.
It's interesting because I think the Spirit would have worked better as an animated cartoon done by the right people than it has ever looked as a movie.
Yeah,
two Spirit movies just suck.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and then the thing about it was they said Eisner just didn't like animation. He wanted somebody, if they're going to pitch something, it needed to be live action. And so he was, like I said, Dane said that both him and his company, he was trying to get a bunch of guys to get Eisner to do it. And like I said, Brad Bird's guys got some further with them, but still it just didn't turn out. But again, you have those kind of just flourishes throughout the movie of tips to superhero cliches, superhero feels. I mean, it's just,
Nah, it's excellent. I couldn't go wrong with it. No. Tommy, what do you got next?
Well, I wanted to add on to that this is a side note. If Tom actually went to his balcony there, he can look out his back window and see the Incredicoaster from his window there. He took a picture earlier today.
Did I?
Did you see the Incredicoaster from the picture you showed us earlier?
Oh, that was from the balcony of the convention center.
Oh, is that what that was from? Okay,
yeah.
Tom was over there by Disneyland or the California Adventure. You could say I saw the Incredicoaster in the background.
Yeah, that's that big red thing that comes out of the because you can see that one. You can see there's a backdrop for one of the Disney rides that's in a different shot of mine, and you can also see the big Ferris wheel. So
for me, people. Well, I keep jumping around too many times. We were talking about movies that sort of got. I think all this. Everybody knows I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I loved all the Spider-Man everything, but the new Tom Holland, whatever his name, Spider-Man, to me feels more like Spider-Man than any of the other ones so far.
Yes,
it's not quite right. I still think the Garfield Spider-Man probably looked better, but I think Tom does a better Spider-Man. So for me, I just love I love all the Spider-Man stuff. I'm just a huge Spider-Man fan.
No,
all those movies.
I agree with you. I think Holland's portrayal is the best, but I got to give props to the other two guys who tried.
Yeah,
because it was still you were still seeing Spider-Man stuff being done. But I liked Holland's portrayal better, and I really liked the animated Spider-Mans.
Oh shoot!
Did. Those
Thingiverse or whatever.
Awesome. Yeah, those blew the top of my head off because it's just like okay.
And actually, the Peter Parker in that first animated one that came out, the older Peter Parker, that's probably the best Spider-Man. That's actually Peter Parker.
Right.
I think that's some good stuff.
But I think as soon as I saw Holland not in the Spider-Man movies, but when he appeared in the Marvel movies as Spider-Man, when he's in Civil War and when he disappears at the end of Avengers Infinity, I mean, just an excellent portrayal of who you think is a kid who has superpowers. And when he disappears at the Thanos snap, I saw that with
no.
I saw that with my two kids. He's saying to Tony Stark, I don't want to go. Say, my kids and we choked up.
Yeah, I didn't cry, not one bit. Nope.
You heartless.
He ripped that off David Tennant and Doctor Who. So
did he?
He did. Actually, he's admitted to it. So
okay. Well, that's all right. Nick of Time says Captain America: Civil War. Activate Your Day. That's a great name. Says Racketeer is one of my favorites. And Nick of Time also says Spider-Man 1 is his favorite. So, and Nick of Time also reminds us that Carl Urban is the guy who played Judge Dredd in the 2012 movie. For those of us like me who couldn't recall the name off the top of our heads. All right. So I got another. We've already crossed off Hellboy and the Rocketeer from my list. I'm gonna go. Where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go Men in Black.
Oh, that was up.
There you go.
Mark it off my list.
Because Men in Black is one that another indie comic that didn't actually sell that well. It didn't sell as well as Turtles, didn't sell as well as The Crow, and just sort of lucked into getting picked up and becoming a blockbuster franchise, with 3 or 4 movies and an animated series and a ton of licensing stuff. And since I was the original
it came
editor,
out through your publishing thing.
Yes, came out through Malibu Comics, and I was the original editor.
Got to feel a little good about that, I'm sure.
I was the one. Well, the thing is, I can say I was the one that plucked it from the slush pile and thought we should publish it, but it wasn't like I had any real insight into what it could be. It wasn't like I said, I didn't pick it out and say, this thing is going to. It's
just 4 or 5 things, and you go, let's go with this one. It looks cool.
It's the dumb luck of the draw, and I didn't even. And when it got picked as a movie, it was because the 2 producers who had worked on the movie Sneakers with Robert Redford, Walter Parks and Laurie McDonald, came out to the Malibu Comics office, and because we were a comic book company that was local to LA, and they were looking for a new thing to do, and they thought, we should write up and see the comic book company. And so they came up and they walked around the office and they left with a huge pile of comics. They left with like 20 different comic book titles. And the one they picked was Men in Black. And that was it. And then they ended up going from independent producers to being the head of production at Amblin Entertainment, and then making a deal with Sony Columbia. And so they were still Spielberg's partners. And it just, all the pieces just sort of fell into place, in like the stupid luck of the draw. And then Will Smith says, I'll make the movie. And Will Smith
how close was the movie to the comics? Because I've never read the comics. You guys never sent me.
It is conceptually similar, and there is one identical scene that's pulled directly from the comic. But tonally, the movie has more humor than the actual comics, but the setup is basically the same. 2 guys investigating paranormal activity. One is young, one is old, and they treat it the same way Law and Order investigates murder. But almost everything else. So Lowell Cunningham gets the right credit for coming up with with these basic elements. He came up with the car. He came up with basically the world building. And then Ed Solomon is the guy who made it into a movie. And I still think it holds up. I still think it's funny. I think it's exciting. I think it's great, and it's another independent comic book movie.
I watched the last hour of yesterday. I was flipping channels. It was on TNT. I stop and watch it.
You get sucked in, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we've got a drive-by from a couple of our pals. Roland Mann drops in. Hey, fellers. Just making a gas stop on the way home. I want to tell you, I was listening, and Lego Batman is still the best Batman movie ever. And Activate says, I was just reading some X Mutants today. Well, X Mutants is not a movie, although it could have been. And David Ace Gutierrez says, hey, Tom could sense the Men in Black greatness. And it's like, no, I couldn't. I had no idea. And Ryan I don't even know how to say his name. I was going to say Persimmon, but it's probably not it. Ryan Permison says Winter Soldier is his top tier comic book movie, and his favorite comic book movies: Days of Future Past, Batman '89, Avengers 2012, TMNT, Blade, Incredible Hulk, to name a few. Well, there you go.
Good list.
He's got a full list. But
I figured Roland was going to call in with the Will Arnett Batman thing. Have y'all seen the commercial? He's actually playing Batman in the commercial with the Bateman guy.
Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman. Yeah. So you got to go look for that commercial. I'm trying to look it up here.
It's a pretty good commercial.
It's a State Farm commercial as well.
State Farm,
right.
Yeah.
State Farm.
But he's actually. I hear the voice. I see Batman, and then I see, of course, the what's his face, Bateman, and because he's not wearing a mask or anything, and I'm like, okay, but I hear the voice, and I'm like, that sounds like the Lego Batman guy. So I had to look it up. It's him playing Batman.
He's in the voiceover. It's a stuntman who did the actual.
Is it?
Yeah, they're overdone.
Oh, you can't believe everything you read on the internet.
There was something that was talking about it because they were talking about all the actors that played the villains, and they said that the guy playing Batman was Chris Evans' stuntman in Captain America. And then they had a picture of him. He looks like Bruce Wayne better than anybody who's ever played Bruce Wayne before. Black-headed,
they should get that guy.
I mean,
unless he can't act, they should get that guy.
I have a feeling he can't act.
Yeah, he's just a great stuntman. He has a great look. That's my problem too, because I can't act. David Ace Gutierrez also nominates Two Guns, captures the tone and feel of the comics, and Two Guns is also on my list as another indie comic that gets turned into a movie. I love the interplay of Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg. I love the twisty plot, and I love all the big action scenes. I think it's a terrific movie, and it's another one of those things that I get sucked into all the time when I stumble across it on cable. I have it on Blu-ray. Yeah. I can watch it anytime. And when it shows up on cable or whatever, all right, I'm in. I'll watch it.
Did you guys ever think that we lived to a period of time when you're cruising through your guide on a Saturday, Sunday, and 3/4 of the movies that are playing are superhero movies? I think about that every time because you just look at that list and it's just like TNT, TBS, everything superhero movies. I would have never thought I'd live to a period of time with that many superhero movies on.
I never thought that. And I also never thought that I would live in a period of time where there'd be so many great comic book movies that when a bad one came along, I could just say, well, I don't like it. And it would still be okay. Yeah. Because when I was growing up, if there was a comic book or science fiction movie that came out and I didn't support it, it would be a long time before Hollywood made another one. And so, but now I don't feel that anxiety. It's like, okay, there's so many. They're like Westerns used to be. I can dislike some and the world will still go forward.
That's the way I felt in the late 80s before Batman came along. You had the Punisher Captain America movie, and it's like, yeah, those are okay. Those are good. You just wanted to say how bad they were. But it was all we had. Right. We have Captain America with fake ears,
And now now it's like a harvest of greatness. There are movies coming on all the time, and people. I think there's an entire generation of filmmakers that really understand how to make a comic book movie and how to capture the tone of a comic book in a way that a mass market will respond to. And now you got more comments here. We got Omactivate Your Day. It's still a great name. It says Batman 89 was magic. I've never seen such a reaction in the theater as when I went to the premiere in Albuquerque, New Mexico. People dressed up and were rushing for the seats. Yeah, that's awesome. Nick of Time says my top 3 DC movies are Dark Knight Returns. I know it has plot holes, but I like the story and the epic feel to it. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and The Dark Knight. And then Omactivate Your Day says my first Spider-Man was Nicholas Hammond. There we go. In Deadly Dust. So excited when this came out. I broke my arm walking on walls. Hey, it could have been worse. You could have tied a towel to your neck and jumped off the roof. And
or set yourself on fire at the torch.
And we do not advise.
We do not condone that. No,
we don't. So children, if you're listening, don't do
that. Herbie was always in the Fantastic Four. There was never a torch.
That's right. Herbie the robot. Man, I know this is sacrilege, but when I saw the trailer for the Fantastic Four movie and Herbie popped up and he and the Thing are arguing about dinner, it feels magic to me. I don't know how the rest of the movie is going to be, but it was fun that they acknowledged that he exists. And if that's the only scene he's in, I'm fine with that too.
There you go.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I don't know. It's one of those things where the thing is, here's the thing. I'm always wrong when I see the stuff on the internet and I see the costumes or I hear the rumor or whatever. I always think, it's going to suck. Because I remember when the Batman 89 came out was announced and Michael Keaton was cast as Bruce Wayne Batman. I thought,
we all thought it was going to be terrible.
This is going to be terrible because he's like the funny guy. This is going to be Adam West.
How can he? We were all wanting a Batman movie, and we were like, "This is going to be cool," and we were like, "But he can't be Batman." Can you pick somebody else?
This is like this is like putting Mork in the suit to me when Michael Keaton came out, and I thought, it's not going to work. And then the movie comes out, and it's like, he's really good.
They did pretty good. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about any of the actors' portrayal as Batman because all I see is the suit doing action stuff at that point. I care about the Bruce Wayne character. Can he pull off the Bruce Wayne? And Michael Keaton pulls off Bruce Wayne in a way that makes me believe that he's the twitchy billionaire. So, Mr. Mom is Batman. That's exactly right.
That's true.
Oh my God! I didn't want to believe it, and then
Batman.
And then I believe
I gotta do it. I gotta jump in here and say Johnny.
Oh no, we're in trouble.
Was Batman? Yes,
Who?
Johnny Dangerously was Batman.
Yeah, Johnny Dangerously is Batman. It doesn't. Yeah.
He was in Night Shift, the Blaze, Blazowski, right? He was the idea guy. Always had something funny on it. Dude, he was perfect as Batman, and he's still my favorite Batman to this day. That's all. I'm out.
All right. Thanks, Pops. Thanks for that drop by. All right. So we've done Two Guns.
I have spoken.
Batman. We've done Men in Black. I would say, I don't think it's my turn. I think it's Mike's turn.
I would have to, since we've already talked about The Rocketeer, which again, is a great movie. Look, the guy playing him looked like he walked right out of the comic. Enjoyed everything about it. But next on my list would be Captain America: The First Avenger. Because I kind of liken it to Superman. I feel like that it was a period of time that Marvel was really trying to get across its characters. That we, and my goodness, it really is a heartening movie. It's good versus evil. There's no gray areas, and you have a guy that they play up. Here's even the real origin of Captain America, the little scrawny, and it's like unnerving to see Chris Evans in this little body.
It really is.
It's just really creepy because you're looking at it and thinking, I'm buying this.
Right.
They did a really good job with the effects in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh. And then when he does the whole Captain America, when he grows and it's like, damn.
You're watching the beginning of it and you're like, it's like, I know that's, all computer effects. Are they stuck to somebody's head on the other thing? But just like, man, I'm believing that this is real. This is pretty cool.
He looks like a cross between Gumby and Mr. Bill from Saturday Night Live, and then all of a sudden he becomes like a super guy. So I would liken the rescue when Captain America goes to rescue the soldiers from the Nazis and brings them back, and they're marching over the hill. I would liken that whole scene, that whole sequence, to Superman's first night. Like that is when they come marching back, 3 cheers for Captain America, and what's her name says, "You're late," and he says, "I broke my radio."
Yeah.
That from the beginning of that scene to the end where he says, "I broke my radio," and then Tommy Lee Jones says, "I'm not going to punish you." That to me is Superman's first night done as Captain America.
A lot of comic book movies fall into this kind of schlocky. They want to put little lines in there that really don't fit the character too well. Right. I just feel like Captain America had so many heart, very positive vibes throughout it. It really did encapsulate that 40s World War II environment of, sacrifice. He wanted it just more than anything. He wanted to be part of something. He didn't want to be something. He wanted to be part of something. Selfless I mean, to a point where he's lying to try to get into the service, and he just
Right.
cannot get anywhere with it. And you have that Stanley Tucci moment about the heart, and it just, I'm not crying, I promise. I mean, it's just there's so many parts in it that it really is Marvel at its best. They really they pulled in there and got the DNA out of Simon Kirby. I mean, it felt genuine. It didn't feel hackneyed. And it's, it's a romance guys can feel good about. We're not sitting there thinking, oh, this is all. It's just like, and you feel at the end of it, it's like it hits hard.
And I think Evans is the guy that really sells it. Like he says,
oh my gosh, yeah.
If you could put some of the earnest and sort of, hokey, outdated things that he says as Captain America or Steve Rogers, they sound real and they sound sincere and they sound believable because he sells the line. And you can't. I mean, I think Chris Evans is a terrific actor. You can't just dismiss him as a comic book actor. He's like a real actor.
Uh-huh.
He's as good as
he did such a good job in the Captain America movies because I've ever since a wee little Tommy, I don't like Captain America. I've never liked Captain America or Thor or any of the Avenger type stuff. But when those movies came out at the beginning, it's like, I like that Captain America. I thought that was pretty good. Same with Thor. A lot of people don't like the Thor in the movies, but I like Thor in the movies way more than I like Thor in the comic books.
I have never. My dirty secret is I've never liked Thor in the comics, no matter who's written it, no matter who's drawn it. I understand he's a favorite character of a lot of people. I can't get into it.
People love him, and they get mad at me for saying I just don't like Thor. I don't like Captain America, but I love him in the movies.
Movie Thor, I'm totally on board with.
Oh, I love Fat Thor. Fat Thor is my
first one was great.
That's a dad bod Thor. That's my
sure. love Thor in the movie. I don't know if I got a man crush or whatever is going on. Nobody's watching this, right? So
no. Just the three of us. Just three dudes.
Just the three of us, so we can talk out loud. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. But, except for somebody's watching.
Pop says blasphemy.
Oh, sorry, but no, those movies made me like those characters more than I through the 30 years before reading their comic books.
And I still won't read a Thor comic, even though I love Thor in the movie now. So it's
I'm sorry.
No,
I love Cap in the comics. I was never a Thor fan, and I'd say that probably Simonson's Thor run is probably one of the only legendary runs I've never read.
It's great. You should read.
Yeah.
No, I think
keeps popping in. That's God keeps popping in and talking to us.
What I don't like about Thor is he always felt like the lesser of the characters in the Marvel universe because he had, when I was reading him, he had the wooden cane that he had to bang on the ground to turn into Thor, and he had the nurse girlfriend that he couldn't confess to, and it all felt like Hulk and Spider-Man to me. It's like all the stuff that Stan Lee added, where it's like the hero who can never get the girl, and he always has to moan about it and mope around, and oh, I'm a doctor, I save lives, but I can never find happiness because I can't ask out my hot nurse. It's like, I'm just so tired of that trope. So by the time Thor came along, it's like, all right, I'm out. I've seen it in Iron Man, I've seen it in the Hulk, I've seen it in Spider-Man. It's like, okay, I'm done with Thor.
Done with Thor.
I'm done with Thor. I'm done with Thor, except for movie Thor. If movie Thor comes back, I'm all
movie Thor. Yep, I'm all for movie Thor.
So, Mike, did we cover one of yours, or did we get
Captain
sidetracked?
America. Captain America was my pick.
All right, Tommy.
All right, I've got one that I really enjoyed, and maybe not so much now because I'm kind of disgusted with him a little bit. But in 2008. Bateman, which kind of, when I was looking up all this stuff, and Will Smith did a little movie called Hancock.
Oh, yeah.
I like that movie so much. I'm a huge Will Smith fan until he goes around slapping people. It makes me not want to like it now, but I really like that movie. I like it because it wasn't a comic book, but it's a superhero movie, so I guess that kind of fits into what we're talking about.
I like it because we've seen enough comic book movies that somebody can take a different take on comic books.
That's what I liked about it. Maybe I liked it because of Will Smith. I don't know.
Then Pops goes, hey, you guys see Thor #4? LOL, it was horrible. They showed Thor butt. Well,
Oh, Love and Thunder? That was great. Loved it. Sorry, that's the Thor I like. I don't like the comic book Thor. I like the stupid, silly Thor.
Yeah, I think it's the only way you can deal with powerful gods. If new gods had a sense of humor.
When you're that powerful and you can just do anything and never die, for the most part, I guess you can get your eye ripped off and all that kind of stuff
right
in the book. But yeah, you gotta make them silly, and that's their weakness is the fact that they're silly. So at that point, it's like, yeah, he's more like me. He can just be super powerful and do whatever he wants, but he's more like me now.
Yeah,
so.
That's why I liked Hancock too, because I think it's a different take on Superman. It's not necessarily my Superman or the Superman. I wouldn't want to see that take attached to Superman as a character, but I'm happy to see it as an alternative
with all of his faults and stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it as an alternative take to the Superman mythos. So Mike is shaking his head.
I liked Hancock to the end. I thought the third act of Hancock was a little. I don't know. I feel like somebody watched Highlander and wanted to do something along those lines.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay, we have to go here. It was going so good, and it's like I was really enjoying the redemption. I was really enjoying maybe seeing himself, and then we get this immortal. Yeah, I'm not going any further than that. I'd say it didn't ruin the rest of the movie for me, but I kind of wondered about that ending.
It does feel.
It could have been a few points higher if they didn't blow the ending. They didn't. Right. They didn't stick the landing.
No.
It felt like some executive said, "You know what a superhero movie does need? This is what we need.
Yeah. This is what we need." Somebody rewrote the ending.
All right. David Rios checks in and says, "I love Charlize Theron." Well, listen, I love Charlize Theron in pretty much everything because. What's the movie? Yeah. What's the movie where she and her friends are immortal and they're going around killing people throughout time over the years? It was on Netflix a couple years ago.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. She's great in that. She's an absolute delight. All right, so we'll go one more round before we sign off.
All right,
so I've got, and I'm torn. So Captain America: Winter Soldier, which I think is great. The Losers, which is I think a great war movie based on a comic book, which people don't really think of as a comic movie. I think Big Hero 6 is they took kind of a dusty old Marvel concept and turned that into a really funny. It's traditional Disney movie in the way that Incredibles is not a traditional Disney movie. But I'm going to go with Road to Perdition.
Oh yeah,
I saw that in my list of background stuff that I was looking
because
at.
I
didn't even realize that was a comic book for some reason.
A comic book written by Max Allan Collins, I believe.
Yeah.
And it has, I mean, it's got all of Max Allan Collins' love of 30s and gangsters and stuff like that. It's a really great translation of a comic book, or because it's really a graphic novel, I think. Graphic novel to the screen. I think Tom Hanks really sells it. It's a great performance by him. It also has heart because of him and his son, which that relationship is really what makes the movie for me, I think. And people don't think of it as it's an example of what comic books can do and what comic books can be aside from just superpowers and demons and fighting. Yeah, it's a gangster movie that originated as a comic book, and I really love it. I think they stuck the landing, and I think it's a really sort of forgotten epic performance by Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I agree.
So
definitely made me seek out the graphic novel because I wasn't aware it was a graphic novel when it was in the theaters. When I watched it, like, okay, I gotta find this.
I knew it was, but I was such a comic book nerd. It's like, I'm not going to read that. And then I saw the movie, and I thought, I should go back and I should read that. Omak Devadar Day says Old Guard. That is the movie with Charlize Theron as the immortal.
Okay.
And he is correct, and David Rios confirms it as well. So excellent. Yes, that's the one. Old Guard. It's a great movie, and I believe it's also based on a comic book. So, all right, that's my last one. Mike, what do you got?
Well, last week we started talking about Batman and how the Batman is only on my list in this capacity, believe it or not. As much as I do like Batman '89, it's
Right.
nostalgic, but it doesn't beat this one. And Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes.
I can't. And like I said, that was one of the highlights of meeting Dan Riva because he was a part of that.
Right.
I think it is Batman perfection. I mean, when you guys talk about Lego Batman, I just in my head it's like Mask of the Phantasm, Mask of the Phantasm. It is everything Batman is and should ever be.
Right. Okay, I totally agree with that, and I think it's because I think it's Bruce Timm too, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, Bruce Timm, Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, the whole Batman animated. I mean, it's just like I said, it is everything again.
And I think, for my money, those guys, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, and the others. I mean, I understand because people are stupid, but why someone doesn't look at them and go, they should do a live action Batman movie with those guys, because they not only will it look great and it be directed great, they understand Batman in ways that I don't understand Batman, but they got him. They nailed it. So I would, if I was a studio executive, I would just say, hey guys, here's X millions of dollars. Go make a live action Batman movie.
Exactly. And the guys that made the Arkham video games knew that. Because
yes,
Dini wrote the first 2 Arkham games, and they're awesome because and they stocked it with animated voice actors like Kevin Conroy. I'm with you. It's like, how can you not see this group of guys that are such? I mean, they're not even comic book guys. They're guys that are fans of the character to a point where they distilled it down again, the vibe of the character, with the respect of the character. I mean, nothing about Mask of the Phantasm other than his parents being killed is in the comic, but it's still awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just everything they added to the mythos of Batman and that movie in particular, because it's got drama, it's love lost. It is everything. Again, Batman is, because Batman is trying to protect, but he's a wounded man to a point. And but it's never, but the mission is never ever compromised in any of those Bruce Timm, Dini. It's like it's what we want from a Batman character.
When and I understand how show business works. I understand that Warner Brothers divides people up and segregates them. It's like, well, these are my movie people and these are my cartoon people, and my movie people can't make cartoons, and my cartoon people can't make movies. I get how stupid that sounds, but I get that that's how it's divided up.
Yeah, it is.
But if you want to make some money and you want to make a really great Batman movie, you give it to those guys and you turn them loose.
I'm right there with you. Sign me up on the petition.
It's why I'm not in charge of a studio.
Wish you were then.
That's right. Because I know 4 guys who would have jobs.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy, what's your last one?
Well, I've got a bonus after it,
right.
which is more, but I've got, and actually Mike said that he didn't like it. I really like the Blade movie, especially the first one. He didn't. Mike said he didn't like it. I liked all of the music and stuff in it, and the whole, you guys talk about all of the character building and all that kind of stuff. Give me a movie where it's superhero-y and it's fighting and crazy stuff going on, and I can just get into it. I just like it. Howard the Duck was also a fun one as a kid. Really liked Howard the Duck for some stupid reason. It was terrible, but I still liked it.
I liked
it.
I like Blade because I love Wesley Snipes. I think Wesley Snipes is one of the great actors of our time, and I think he can do anything from campy comedy to serious drama to crime to romance to everything. And every time I see him on screen, I think, oh, this is going to be awesome, because I saw him in the Deadpool movie when he popped up, and it
was cool that he was in it.
He's great in that, and he's just like, it's just like a little pop-in cameo. And I think so and even Demolition Man, which we talked about earlier, but it's so stupid. But Wesley Snipes,
but that's still fun.
Wesley Snipes is a great over-the-top, like a Batman '66 kind of villain. And so, if
he wouldn't have gotten the IRS troubles, he probably would still be making a lot of big movies right now.
Yeah, well, I always think IRS troubles are stupid anyway. That should be reserved for billionaires and not regular Not
regular
regular.
folks.
Shouldn't go after regular folks.
My
So-
bonus thing, let me pull the
Yeah.
page up so I can tell you. I actually have one there it is. And I didn't, and it took, I forgot completely about this. You remember the Dark Horse comic book Virus?
Is that the one that takes place on a boat?
A doll on a boat? Yeah, I actually did. I inked pretty much the whole book. That was when I was helping Jimmy Palmiotti doing stuff, and I inked that whole book. And then it was Jimmy, went back over what I did and made it a Jimmy book. But yeah, that was a cool something. So that was actually a book that was made into a movie. If I did, the movie sucked really bad, but that's my
you worked on
claim to fame right there. There you go.
All right. So we'll do one last question, and this is sort of different. Is what comic book would you like to see turned into a movie that hasn't done yet?
That'll be next week show. So I would really like to see a Zomboid comic book. That'd be or a movie. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. I can see that.
A Man in the Mask movie would be really cool.
I've got no problem with that.
So who would you envision as playing the man? Who would be the Man in the Mask? If you
Oh my
cast him?
gosh! Nowadays, I'm not really positive, but I'm, years ago when I first created, I actually did have a cast list in my head. It was kind of funny because it just shows you how far along it was since I created it. But I always wanted Mark Blucas from Buffy to be Tommy. I mean, it was just in my head, that's who it was. But as far as modern actors, I guess I don't really keep up to be able to pick one. I would want somebody to be an unknown. To be honest with you, I would be like a Rocketeer. I would want somebody kind of pulled off the streets, and that way no one has any preconceived notions of the actor.
I would pick Glenn Powell, who is the new hot Hollywood leading man, because his name would guarantee that the movie got made, and so that's
I'll take
that's the only reason I would pick him.
He's not too far out of reach. I would take that.
Yeah,
I do know that. Yeah,
he's close to I think he's close to the right age, where he could certainly play the age.
Yeah.
And he's got that physicality to him, because your Man in the Mask is not necessarily a big beefy. He's not like Reacher.
No, nothing like that. No, I don't want anybody like Timothy Chalamet or anything. We don't want that.
No, because that's the opposite end. That's the anti-Reacher.
Yeah, we don't want that. But
Timothy Chalamet is like it's like Steve Rogers before the super serum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's the before, definitely.
If you're listening, Timothy Chalamet, I don't apologize. What I would like to see, and I know this will never happen. I'd like to see a Calvin and Hobbes animated feature.
Ooh. Oh, I would just love that.
I want to see that so much. I know it will never happen. I know why it will never happen. However, it's my dream comic book, comic strip, comic project turned into a movie. Because I think you take somebody like who has a Brad Bird sensibility and you give him Calvin and Hobbes, and now you'll have a movie that I will watch until I die.
Yeah.
Would you want it to be a live action or
nope.
or
animation?
No, that would take the magic out of it. We want animation.
I want the animation because I want all those fantasy sequences. I want Spaceman Spiff. I want the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
I want all that stuff, and it's more believable to me as a kid's imagination if it's animated.
Yeah, they wouldn't do it justice. I mean, they could probably find some cute kid, but it just would take the magic out of it, and that's the whole point. Is the imagination of Calvin? You just.
No, I want the Calvin mouth. I want all the over exaggerated expressions. I want all of that, and that can only be done in animation, and not CG, not that computerized rounded animation. I want sort of 2D flat, animation that looks like the comic. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be improved by computer models.
Yeah, I agree.
Another the old Peanuts look.
Yeah, something like that. Something that would be magical. You want it to see it, and it just feels right when you look at it. It could be, just there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the show. We are out of time, and I see by the clock on the wall. I will not be the host next week. That'll be Roland. He'll be back. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but we'll post it on social media. We have a Tuesday stream coming up. I do not know what that is about. We have a Wednesday stream coming up. I do not know what that is about because, as you might have guessed, I've been at a convention all weekend and I don't do homework. So thanks to everybody.
I saw your list there. You wrote some stuff down. So
I did do. I had a little pre-rehearsal meeting with myself. I did, but it was mostly selfish because it was only what I liked.
Yeah.
You know what a movie I'd like to see is Rob Haynes. I think Randy Ronaldo's Rob Haynes would be perfect in a movie. That whole setup, I would love to see.
I love it because that's basically Kid Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And no one has done that and been able to pull it off. And I think there's a ton of, you get Timothy Chalamet to play young Rob Haynes.
What people should do out there is go look up, and this is what I did earlier today. Go look up movies that you didn't realize were comic books ahead of time. Just Google that, and I have it pulled up, but we don't have time to go. There was like 20 different movies that I've seen, and like I didn't know that was a comic book or some part graphic novel somewhere or another. Even like the Fifth Element. Did you know that was an actual graphic novel? At some point, it was some French thing way back in the day.
It doesn't count.
It's European.
That's European. Those comics are square bound, and they have little tiny panels, so we don't talk about them. All right. Thanks everybody for weighing in. Thanks for playing with us. Roberta will be back next week, and it's a goodbye from me and goodbye from everybody else. Wait, we have to say the tagline too, don't we? As Roland always says. That's right. Make mine so
well, we messed that up.
Yeah, we did. If we'd come to rehearsal, we would get this really well. All right, make mine Silverline. Hang in there, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Cat and mouse vipers. Giant child-snatching vipers are terrorizing New Orleans, pulling children from their homes in the middle of the night. In their eagerness to take on human trafficking in the city, cat and mouse find themselves in the thick of it. Crime, action, drama, with a smattering of superheroics. Now, like Roland Mann said, our head honcho here at Silverline, go do some backing, and we appreciate your support.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.